everybody. Welcome into an NHL Breakdown, DFS Minute, if you want to call it that. I'm your buddy Choppadong, host of the DFS Minute, brought to you by DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for everything daily fantasy sports. Always remember, hit the like button, notify yourself with the little bell, subscribe to the channel. Go ahead down in the comments section for the VIP link, DFSArmy.com. Of course, coupon code CHOP saves you 20% off each and every time that you become a member for as long as you stay a member. We're going to dive in, talk NHL today. We're going to really quickly run down the slate, talk some thoughts back and forth or whatever, because I think I've got a key thought here that I don't mind saying, because a lot of people get caught up in the variance of the sport or all DFS sports and worry about whether their plays are right or wrong. And I don't think that we grasp the bigger picture, which is when we go a little bit, even when we pick the chalky plays, the safer plays, the plays most likely to go off or bring value, and they fail. I mean, gosh, almost seems like 50% of the time, even when they're in smash spots. When we get off the rails a little bit and go suboptimal, it seems like people really get upset when that play doesn't work out. Well, it was suboptimal to begin with. It wasn't supposed to work out. All you're hoping for is that when it does work out, you have less people at the top of the leaderboard that had the same idea. Therefore, you're fighting with fewer people to win. It's easier to win if that happens to be the right combination. Why? Because it was suboptimal. That's why most of those people don't have the same thing. So I think we lose that big key picture item when we start kind of getting a little bit off the rails. And I've got an off the rails play for you tonight, so I wanted to get that out of the way first. But as we roll down the slate, I'm just going to look for ITTs, and I wouldn't be too interested in this game. 7-game slate doesn't mean it can't go off. It just means it's not as likely to as some others. I would scroll down this way a little bit. I'm not saying there aren't one-offs in that game. I'm just looking for spots to pick on, to stack. 3.1, 3.4, I'd be on the Pittsburgh side. Toronto's not bad. You know, they're just a little bit suboptimal tonight in terms of maybe your top 1, 2, or 3 stacks that you might use. And in no way does it mean they can't go off and win the slate. In fact, if they do, you probably get them at a little bit lower ownership than usual, or certainly than if they were the top stack on the slate. They just aren't tonight. So always think in terms of that, because that's really a secret to DFS, is you might take a stack like this because it is a little bit suboptimal tonight, and therefore you can hope the chalk fails and run over to the secondary and tertiary options and then end up gaining that leverage. That's in a sport like hockey where the chalk fails a ton. You could absolutely take the top 2 implied team totals on the night or top 2 smash spots on the night and just pitch them and go with options 3, 4, and 5. And you're probably in a decent position on any given night because the chalk fails in hockey. But I would definitely, if I was playing, who has the highest odds to succeed tonight? Well, Pittsburgh as a team, as an offense, has that spot, or at least they're one of the top dogs. Now, why? Because they're facing a team that gives up goals, and Pittsburgh has the firepower to score goals. You can talk injuries all you want, but if you look down here at the last 5 and last 10 games, at where the green boxes are, who's producing? Crosby, a little bit of Zucker here, not so much Simon. But you come down here, Letang with 3 goals and 3 assists, 20 shots, 6 blocks. You can't argue that there's some floor there. 2, 2, and 9 for Malkin, but nobody else is really helping him out on his line. Come down here, there's not much in that second line of defensemen. You go down here to the bottom, and nobody really on this third line too much. Maybe Bluger here because he's probably pretty cheap. Doesn't serve on any power play time, but a goal and 2 assists on 12 shots and blocks. I mean, isn't bad if he's super cheap. Might look for something like that, but you come down here to Hornquist, 2 goals, 3 assists, 15 shots. He tends to shoot a ton. And you correlate here power play 1 with Malkin, power play 1 with Letang, power play 1 with Crosby. You've come across a defenseman in 3 different scoring lines. It's a very unique way to get, I mean, it's not unique in that nobody else will have the idea. It's unique in that most of the time I tend to stick with the full scoring line because this line is going to be on the ice more often or for longer periods of times for a higher percentage of the time than the power play units. Okay, the even strength lines they just log more minutes together. So if Crosby's going to go nuts, chances are Zucker and Simon were on the ice with him. Yes, if the power play goes nuts, Zucker and Simon were not on the ice with him. Instead, it's, Letang and Hornquist and whatever else. So you're kind of making a gamble. That's, again, a little bit of a suboptimal gamble. You get a little bit lower ownership for doing it. It has just as much upside probably as the even strength lines. So you can do it that way if you want to. But at even strength, the object is to score goals. There's no doubt that Hornquist is scoring the most goals on line 3, that Malkin is scoring the most goals on line 2, and Sidney Crosby scoring the most goals on line 1. I mean, so why not take one or two of those guys? Again, the odds are they're not going to score a goal tonight because nobody scores 80 goals a year. But odds are that if a goal gets scored on that line tonight, it probably came from him. Okay, so again, you're kind of just playing the odds, and that's why this game is so fickle and so fluky. Is you're trying to get 9 players on your team that all have great nights, and that's hard to do in such a sport. All right, moving on. Those would be the 4 or 5 names on the team that I would be most interested in, and they correlate together. I would try to correlate them together. Buffalo 3.1, Ottawa 2.2, okay. I mean, Ottawa's not a good team, not a good defense, but Buffalo's not exactly a juggernaut offense either. If I was going to play them, I'd be up here on this top line for sure. Looking down at Montreal at a 3.3, that's better than Buffalo technically on paper. It doesn't mean it's great. But facing Detroit, Detroit's bad, bad, bad. No goals for, lots of goals against. I'd be looking at Montreal. Who's doing the damage? Last 5 games. Looks like, Tatar here, whatever. 0-4-4-1. Gallagher top line in the last 10 games. They've done a little bit in the last 5 games. Defenseman, nothing too special. Down here, Suzuki on line 2, maybe. Down here, not much, although Kovalchuk is shooting the lights out. So there's good floor here for somebody who might bag a biscuit, but is probably relatively cheap in this case. Maybe he's on power play 1, so maybe he does serve some up ice time with some of these guys. Whatever. This is just an easy way to pick apart the production and see who is likely to do the scoring. Right? And you might not even argue an Anastasio here over in Detroit with 3 goals in his last 5 games on 11 shots. I mean, that's not a bad one-off for a tournament type of situation. St. Louis Blues 3.9, highest ITT on the slate. And this is kind of where I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on. St. Louis's goals against, this is something to look at on this sheet very, very strongly. St. Louis is a defensive team. They're in a bit of a skid. Lost 4 games in a row, lost 10 of 12, whatever the hell it is. They're not in a good way. Could be Stanley Cup hangover, a little bit of, beaten down towards the end of the season, starting to get tired. Could be all of that stuff. Could be that they're just defensively just a little out of whack. Could be they've lost the message. Could be they're just bad timing. Could be a whole mess of crap going on. But St. Louis is not playing. They're not firing on all cylinders right now. When they are, they don't have to score a lot because they don't allow a lot of goals. But lately, they've been allowing a lot of goals. How do we know that? We look at the overall rankings here for goals against. They, on the season, rank 10th. But over the last 10 games, they rank 29th. They have fallen from a top 3rd team to a pretty solid team, which really and truly, as this number came down, this number came down. But they are second to worst or 3rd from worst in the league over the last 10 games. They're allowing a lot of goals. Goaltending is an issue, team defense is an issue, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's what this indicates. But right now, you've got a collapsing team. Now, will it continue tonight? I don't know. But if you tipped off this trend 3 games ago, you'd have good 3 games of stacking against the Blues. If it continues one more night, you can see the indicator here that they're a solid team, but they're not solid right now. Let's look and see what it says about New Jersey. We come over here and we see goals for, not an offensive team, bottom 5, bottom 6 team in the league in goals for overall, but last 10 games they're ranked 4th. Oh my God, what a spike. All of a sudden they're scoring goals. So you've got a team that's ascending or scoring goals or on a temporary hot streak or whatever you want to call it, facing a team on a temporary tailspin. Give me a strong offense going up against a bad defense all day long. This is, tournament rich. Because I'm not saying New Jersey's going to go score 6 goals on the Blues, but I'm saying it isn't illogical to think they can't. The Blues might just vacate the net and give it to them the way they're playing right now. My point is there's a lot of leverage here. There's a lot of value here. You've got a team that is ascending. You've got a team here. Look at this top line. 5 goals, 7 assists, 34 shots, 9 blocks. All this for the cheap, cheap prices of Brad Hischier and Palmieri. You've got a second line down here that isn't doing much damage. You've got a second defensive pairing, Severson, who's probably okay. 20 shots and blocks with 4 assists. He's going to overlap with this line some. He even serves on the power play 1. Come down here, this third line, Zaka, Hughes, and Simmons is not terrible. They've scored 3 goals, 5 assists on 34 shots on blocks. For the price, it's probably not terrible. There is a little bit of value to be had here. You can look for the recent production in where these goals are coming from. It's line 1 and line 3. And you would take line 1 or line 3 and say, if somebody's going to do the scoring tonight, it will probably come from here. So I'll stack these teams against a team that's reeling on defense right now and hope for the best. Because again, it is suboptimal because these teams are not typically this strong offensively or this bad defensively. They're out of character. But if you time it just right, you've got a lot of leverage in GPPs because most people won't dig into the numbers and see that. And it's right here in this tool for you to look at. I don't even normally look at those numbers, but it was pointed out to me a little bit earlier today. I already knew the situation. I was talking about it, and somebody said, oh, look, it shows up in the numbers, and showed it to me. And I'll be damned if it's not right there staring you right in the face. Okay, now with the 3.9 ITT, Blues are implied to score some goals. Where are they coming from? Well, obviously, Zach Sanford's on a hot streak. Will that continue? No. Might it continue another game or two? Maybe. Would I include him in one of my stacks? Probably. O'Reilly and Perron, I don't know. Maybe I'd be interested in Perron. Perron scored quite a few goals this year. He's got 3 assists going. He's tailed off a little bit here lately. Only 2 goals in his last 10 games. Sanford has 9 goals in his last 10 games. Wouldn't you have liked him 10 games ago? Wouldn't you have liked to got on that bus early? You got Pietrangelo, who's always in there. So if I was going to stack somebody, I might take a Sanford. Might be a little overpriced right now, but I might be interested in a Perron and a Pietrangelo to get access to Sanford if he has a good game, but get a couple of guys that might be ready to score some goals again here that haven't scored goals lately. Look down here on this bottom line, there's not much. Look here at Colton Parayko, 3 goals last 5 games on 13 shots and 9 blocks. Not bad value there. Vince Dunn, 4 assists. Probably not Vince Dunn. But look, there's no real other. The production is very scattered. It's all right here on that top line. So I would say if they're going to be doing some scoring, it's going to be top line versus top line tonight. And those are the lines I'd try and stack up, see if I can't work it out salary-wise. If not, I'd take some sneaky and say, oh, Sanford's way overvalued, way overpriced. I'm going to take access with Perron and Pietrangelo and then run out of there. That's fine, too. Take a shot on somebody else. I mean, to include in a stack like that if it's correlated, that's kind of what we're looking at doing. Scroll down here a little bit more. Carolina, 2.9, no. Nashville, 3.1, probably not. Although you can't argue certain guys. You can't argue Roman Josi. You can't argue, this top line with Svechnikov, Aho, Teravainen on it. They're strong plays. They just aren't in the best spot to smash tonight. Would it surprise you if they scored 6 goals in Carolina? No. It wouldn't. It shouldn't. It just means it's probably not as likely to happen as a Toronto or a Pittsburgh or a St. Louis or whatever. Scroll down looking for a little bit more. We got a 3.4 in Winnipeg. Let's see if we can find some hot skaters in Winnipeg. It looks like that top line again is shooting the lights out. That's good. Maybe some biscuits are going to go into the baskets. The second line looks like it's actually doing the damage, though. It's actually out shooting the top line 59 to 50. 10 goals night. This is where I'd be taking most of my action, but this line isn't bad. For as much as they're shooting, as much shot volume as they're putting on the net, that's not bad. There's good options in both of those top scoring lines. There's not a bad option down here in Pionk. It's quarterback in the power play 1 still. Other than that, it's pretty sporadic. So I would be where the stuff is focused. And I would look for things like a cheap guy up top, which there's not here. I'd look for a cheap guy up top where I can find it in some of these other teams. Granlund, Johansson, Arvidsson. Nope, none of these. These are pretty stable. Sanford, Riley. If Sanford's still cheap, that'd be great. Brad, this is where I'd be probably taking some of my value from tonight. If I needed salary savings and a little one-off here or there, there's logic in the top line of that New Jersey stuff. Wouldn't be taking anything off of that Detroit top line. Might look at Montreal. Brady Tkachuk, I don't know, 3 goals in 10 games, 2 goals in 5 games. There's not a bad one-off, but he's probably not super cheap. Olofsson, Reinert, these are all viable plays as well. But if I'm just looking off, I'm looking for somebody, Zach Hyman, somebody who's a little out of place. 5 goals, 5 assists, 4 goals in the last 5 games. That might be one of my little top value plays. Somebody who's in a good spot, who is producing, and might be underpriced. Zach Hyman usually doesn't command some $7,000, $8,000 price. He's probably a little bit undervalued for what he's doing right now. That might be one of my cheaper value plays on the night. Zucker might be another one if he's not too expensive. Defensemen are always good. You can always sift the research tool, come into skaters and sift by salary and bring the shots and blocks up to the top and get some guy for under $3K on DraftKings that ends up producing a few points for you, which then allows you to get into a bigger stack that has a lot more firepower. Those are things we talk about inside DFS Army, but this is just a quick slate rundown, some thoughts, some ideas. The New Jersey play is probably one that I would probably take at least one shot at, because St. Louis is reeling and New Jersey is outscoring what they typically should be doing. Therefore, they're in a pretty good matchup tonight, and I don't think many people are going to see it. And I don't think many people are they're going to see that ITT of like a 2.1 and run away from New Jersey and say, well, they can't do anything tonight. And I'm going to say, not so fast, because St. Louis's defense has been putrid. So that's my tip to you. If you like this type of stuff, again, like and subscribe to the video. Come inside the VIP rooms, hit us up and talk. Been doing a lot of talking with guys during the All-Star break that are trying to learn hockey, that are kind of interested in it, and to be quite honest with you, are finding that it is quite a bit of fun. It's a little bit different in that you don't have the late swap worries necessarily. You don't have the late scratch things that basketball drives people nuts with. It's a little bit calmer sport in that we can set our lineups now for the day and not really worry about much being uprooted at the last minute. You'd never think about doing that in NBA. That's where it's a little bit different. And we've also got golf, and we've got baseball coming, and NASCAR running. We had a great Daytona 500. We've got a great golf event going on this year or this week. We've got MMA probably again. We've probably just got a whole host of things that are getting ready to roll out again this week, and I think we might even be accessing another free roll on Super Draft. If you missed the last one, you want to get into this one. Stay tuned for that link. Follow our emails. Follow us on Twitter. All those good things. And you stay up to date on all the information, because we are the original coaching site that does the teaching, that digs in, spends the time with you, and makes you a better player. DFSArmy.com. Link and everything's down there in the description. Hopefully, I see you on the inside. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you in a couple of days.